Hello, welcome to another installment of the Robinson Twins present The Earth is Our Spherical Home Planet. In this installment, we'll be looking at a notion regarding the moon. There's two. One we've seen on YouTube videos where they think the moon is either a projection or a luminary and not a physical object. We've also seen videos and seen comments from our own videos where they suggest the moon is translucent and you can actually see stars through it. So we'll be debunking both of those notions right now. Here's a picture of a full moon, and I can clearly see impact craters, miries, mountain ranges, and shadows going across the surface. This can't happen with a projection or a luminary, and a luminary would not have phases. The moon has phases. And I've posted a video about the moon's phases, which I'll link to in the description. All you really have to do is look at it with your own eyes or binoculars or a telescope, and you can clearly see it's a solid object and it reflects the light of the sun. And because it orbits the Earth, it has phases. And think about this. If the moon was a light in the sky or a projection, wouldn't it be full all the time and not go through phases? Also, the moon changes its rising time and setting time by about 50 minutes every night compared to the day before. So why would it change rising and setting times if it was just a light in the sky or a projection? If you think it was a projection, which of course is nonsense, but if it was a projection, wouldn't it be full every night and in the same position every night? Now, the other issue I'll address is about seeing stars through the moon, that somehow the moon is translucent. Here's a look at the full moon, and you can clearly see bright spots on it. So let's zoom in and take a look at some of these. You can clearly see rims of craters catching light differently from the rest of the crater, and debris fields and other surface features catching light differently from their surroundings. Bob the Science Guy has done an excellent video on people mistaking the light from crater rims for stars, especially in the Terminator area of the moon. So I'll link to that video in our description. One of the videos I've seen claiming that astronomers have seen stars through the dark part of the moon came from 1794 when some British observers saw what they thought was a star in the dark side of the dark part of the moon, and they wrote to the royal astronomer asking for what it was. So it wasn't astronomers; it was members of the public writing to the royal astronomer. And they were from Norwich, England. So I found that letter actually, and here's what it says. Letter to the royal astronomer was written by a Mr. Wilkins who made his observation on the 7th of March, 1794. So here's what it says. When I saw the light speck as shown in the sketch, I was very much surprised, for at the instant of discovery I believed a star was passing over the moon, which on the next moment's consideration I knew to be impossible. I remember having seen, at some periods of the moon, detached lights from the serrated edge of light through a telescope, but this spot was considerably too far distant from the enlightened part of the moon. Besides, this was seen with the naked eye. I was, as it were, riveted to the spot where I stood during the time it continued, and took every method I could imagine to convince myself that it was not an error of sight. And two persons, strangers, passed me at the same time, whom I requested to look, and they, maybe a little more ignorant than myself, said it was a star. I'm confident I saw it 5 minutes at least, but as the time is only conjectural, it might not possibly be so long. The spot appeared rather brighter than any other enlightened part of the moon. It was there when I first looked. The whole time I saw it, it was a fixed, steady light, except the moment before it disappeared, when its brightness increased, but the appearance was instantaneous. Here's a sketch that Mr. Wilkins provided for the royal astronomer in his letter. You can see where the bright spot is that he observed. This could still possibly be the rim of a crater catching the sun's light, or a tall mountain that happens to be in the shadow part of the moon, but still tall enough to catch the sun's light. But when he said that it only lasted 5 minutes or so and then disappeared, it made me think of another possibility. What it made me think of was the possibility that what he was witnessing was the result of a meteor impact on the moon that kicked up so much lunar dust that it caught the light of the sun before falling back into the moon's shadow. Here's some support for that idea. First, some definitions. A meteoroid is a particle traveling through space. A meteor is one of those particles streaking through the Earth's atmosphere, through the sky. And if that particle reaches the Earth's surface, then it's called a meteorite. And that particle can be smaller than a grain of sand to larger than a boulder. These meteoroids could also impact the moon. Because there's no atmosphere, the moon doesn't have meteors or meteorites per se. It just has meteoroids directly impacting it. And because of the moon's gravity, those particles or those meteoroids would accelerate and impact with nothing to slow them down. The Earth averages about 17 meteorites per day. Those are the ones that actually reach the ground. The Moon averages about 100 meteoroids per day, about ping pong ball size, and that's about 33,000 per year, with a force equivalent to 7 pounds of TNT. It's estimated that large meteorites, at least 8 feet across or greater, hit the Moon about every 4 years. The force of these meteoroids would be equivalent to 1,000 tons of TNT. So, how did scientists learn about the impacts caused by the meteoroids on the moon? Well, the Apollo missions in the 60s and 70s left behind seismometers with solar panels, and they could broadcast their data back to Earth. And impacts from meteoroids would create shock waves in the moon, and these would be detected by the seismometers. On the top 10 list of largest meteorites ever found, the largest was one found in Namibia with a mass of over 66 tons. The largest found in the United States was the Willamette meteorite found in the Willamette Valley of Oregon. It had a mass of over 14 tons. It was moved to the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. Believed by scientists that the meteorite landed in a glacier during the last ice age and was moved downstream closer to the Pacific Ocean before the glacier eventually melted and left the meteorite in the Willamette Valley. From the 1960s till today, the possibility for seeing some bright light against the moon could be high-flying aircraft, satellites, even the International Space Station. I've witnessed satellites myself not long after sunset with the satellite reflecting the sun's light against the dark background. It's quite a sight to see. I've also seen the International Space Station pass over at least 6 times, and I've recorded it twice, and our videos are on YouTube. We'll post links to those in our description. Also, expert photographer and flat Earth debunker Dave McKeegan and his dog Rusty were challenged to get a pictures of the International Space Station transiting the moon, and he did so successfully. Here's a screenshot from his video so you can see what that looks like, and we'll link to his video in our description as well. What's presented on the internet is usually done with digital photography, but because it's electronic, it suffers from some issues that all electronics suffer from, and that is with things like radio, you want to have a signal, which is the voice or the music you're trying to listen to, but it also comes with noise. All electronic devices have signal to noise ratio, so noise is an ongoing thing. And when it's digital photography, then because it's electronic, you get a signal, which is the picture you want, but you also get noise. And instead of hearing it like on a radio, you would see it. So here's an example of what I took with my own digital camera to show noise. This is a picture I took with my digital camera with the lens cap on. If this was a film camera, I just get a pure black image. But because it's digital and there's no signal because of the lens cap being on, I'm just seeing the noise. Now I'm zooming into 400%, so you can clearly see the red, green, and blue dots are noise. Noise is especially common when you take long exposures, like of the moon. So you can see how someone who takes a picture of the moon and then zooms in on it might see in the dark part of the moon something they think are stars because they're red or blue or green, but that's noise. Another issue we can get with digital photography is called a hot pixel, and that's when the sensor element puts out a white signal regardless of the light that's actually falling on it. So you'll get white spots in what should be dark areas, and that could be confused for a star if you're taking a picture of the moon. Many examples of photo editing software include functions to deal with the hot pixel, including the big name in photo editing, Adobe Lightroom. So it is a known issue among digital photographers. To summarize, the Earth and the Moon are spherical celestial objects with the Earth orbiting the Sun and the Moon orbiting the Earth. The Moon has surface features, so it has craters and mountain ranges. It's a physical object. It's not a luminary, it's not a projection, and it's reflecting the sun's light, and this is evident from the fact that it goes through phases as it orbits around the Earth on a monthly basis. And it also changes its rising and setting times by between 50 and 60 minutes every day. The historically observed bright spot in the dark part of the moon could have been a meteoroid impact that was just observed on that one time. It's not something that was observed on a monthly basis, certainly. And in modern times, the bright spot in the dark part of the moon could be a high altitude aircraft catching the sun's light, a satellite, or even the International Space Station. Or with the digital photography, it might be a sign of digital noise in the dark part of the moon or hot pixels creating a white spot. The goal of science is to learn how nature works. So if you enjoy learning science and combating science deniers, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, and we'll see you in the next one.